Welcome, all my fellow Washington brethren and sister. I am your man and resident Washington football team fan, Lou. Thank you for joining me here on the Washington Football Report. Washington makes a move prior to the draft, trading for offensive lineman Erick Flowers. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Erick Flowers, as you know, formerly of the Washington Redskins, okay, before they switched over to the Washington football team. He was here in 2019. We revived his career, essentially. Bill Callahan did a fantastic job of getting this guy to play at a high level after kicking him inside to guard. His career essentially was on life support before he got to Washington after stops in New York, where he was drafted, in Jacksonville. He got here. He turned his career around, parlayed that into a 3-year, $30 million deal. Washington was not willing to pay him that kind of money going into free agency. He got that from Miami, which was his home state. So it probably felt good for him to go back home. Obviously, the Dolphins don't like the money that they're currently paying Erick Flowers 1 year into the deal. He's got 2 years remaining on that contract that he signed last offseason. So they probably looked at the contract situation, said, you know what? If we can extract any value out of this, let's do it. And they were able to do so. Now, I don't know the parameters of the deal. We'll get the details. All it said was a late round swapping of picks. I don't know if Washington's going to benefit from that or the Dolphins are going to benefit from that. Because currently, the Dolphins have the 3rd pick in the 7th round because Washington doesn't own a 6th round pick. So I don't think there's any swapping of 6th and 7th going on here because Washington doesn't have a 6th. So they're not swapping 5s, I can tell you that. Washington isn't going to swap their 5, and the Dolphins aren't looking to swap their 5 more likely than not. I think this is a matter of 7th round picks we're talking about here. The Dolphins currently have the 231st pick in the 7th round. They also have the 2nd to last pick in this draft. I think that's 252, I believe, 250, something like that. Meanwhile, Washington has 244 and 246. So if I'm guessing if it benefits Washington, this may be Washington going up to 231, Dolphins moving back to 244 or 246. If it's benefiting Miami, that 2nd to last pick then goes to Washington at 250, let's call it 254, and Washington and the Dolphins would get 244 or 246. Look, that's irrelevant. Honestly, that's the part of the deal that really doesn't make much difference, if we're being honest. It's the player that we're talking about here in Erick Flowers and what this means. So let's talk about that. Erick Flowers, we know, once upon a time was here, played well for us, exceeded all of our expectations. We were talking about how he was going to get the quarterback killed that year. Oh my God, how could they put him out there? He's going to get Keenum or Dwayne or whomever is that quarterback killed back there. And this guy came in, and he might have been one of the most consistent, solid offensive linemen that entire year. Remember, we were playing musical chairs that entire year up front along the offensive line. Nobody, and I mean nobody, stayed healthy outside of Flowers, and I believe Morgan Moses might have been the only other guy that stayed healthy on the offensive line in 2019. Everything else was essentially musical chairs. There was no Trent Williams at left tackle. That was the first year that we were without him. And center, there was a revolving door at center because we were moving Chase Rouillet all over the place to compensate for not having consistency at right guard because Sheriff was hurt. And so it was a mess. And Erick Flowers was one of the few mainstays that year at guard, and he played really well, and a lot of you wanted him back, but they didn't want him back at $10 million per. Well, he's back at $10 million per. Obviously, the Dolphins have paid him a huge chunk of that deal already in signing bonuses, roster bonuses, things of that nature in that first year. But what this says, forget about the money aspect of it and all of that. Let's talk about what it says about Washington's mindset going into the draft. There were mock drafts that had Washington taking a guard at some point, like a Ben Cleveland out of Georgia, for instance, or down the road taking a guard like the one Brown out of Alabama, and so forth and so forth. I think this takes Washington out of the guard market in the draft, and no one's more happy and excited about that than me, because I told you one of my biggest fears was Washington in the first round of this draft taking Elijah Vera Tucker, offensive lineman out of USC. He's more of a guard than he is a tackle, but he can play tackle I was afraid that if he was on the board, and there's a realistic shot that he will be on the board at 19, that Washington would take him. That was a scary proposition for me. I don't want to see this team draft another guard in the first round. I don't. So this is good news for anyone out there like myself that didn't want to see this team use 19 overall on a guard. This is the best news you could have gotten. I didn't think they were going to go guard anyway, but I didn't want that on the table. Just like a few years ago, I didn't want Daniel Jones tempting this team at 15 overall, even though they ended up getting Dwayne Haskins, and that might be actually worse. I didn't want them drafting Daniel Jones, and the Giants took him off the board completely and allowed me not to have to worry about that. This move essentially does the exact same thing for me at 19 now. I don't have to worry about Washington taking a guard at 19. If they decide to do that late in the draft, knock your socks off and knock yourself out. I don't think they're going to do that personally. I think tackle is the only position that they're going to go after along the offensive line at some point in this draft. So this kind of reassures me that we won't have any chicanery or tomfoolery early in this draft along the offensive line unless it's a tackle, which I'm perfectly fine with. I do not want to see this team take a guard in the first 2 days of the draft. Now, I don't think they're going to take one at all. And I feel really good about that. This gives you a veteran presence inside just in case. And you know what this also says to me? And I may be taking this a bit too far. I think this also says, and I was watching some film again of Saahdiq Charles from 2019. And this guy can play tackle, man. I feel confident Saahdiq Charles can play left tackle. Anyway, he's got to stay healthy. That's the first thing. Availability is the best ability. I'm not sure that they have to go tackle. In them adding more depth at guard, this could be a move for Brandon Sheriff in the future. This could be a move for Brandon Sheriff right now. They're not trading him, but for those of you who are conspiracy theorists out there, hey, they're going to move Brandon Sheriff. This is why they went and got Flowers. Okay, knock yourself out with that. I don't think that's happening. That's not what this is for. This is for the ability to say, Saahdiq, we don't want you to play guard. We want you to play tackle. And because we want you to focus on tackle, we're bringing another guard in here to give us the depth necessary so that we can put Wes Schweitzer back where he belongs, where he was signed to be, essentially was the backup guard. We brought him in here to compete, but Wes Martin was supposed to be the starting left guard. Brandon Sheriff was supposed to be the starting right guard. And if anything happened to either one of them, we were supposed to feel confident inserting Wes Schweitzer, which we did last year, and he played his ass off. He played his balls off last year. I felt good enough with him to the point that I said, we don't need to draft anybody. I'd take Wes Schweitzer as my starting left guard. Well, they said, hey, pump your brakes. Drive slow, homie. Okay? Wes Schweitzer's good, and we like what he gave us. We don't want to ask Wes to do that again. Okay? So what they're saying here is we don't want Saahdiq Charles having to focus on playing guard and tackle. We just want him to focus on playing tackle. We want to give some more competition inside so that let's say Wes Schweitzer does beat Erick Flowers out. Worst case scenario, something happens with Sheriff because Sheriff hasn't played a full 16 game slate since like 2014, and something were to happen to Wes Schweitzer, you got Erick Flowers to kick inside, and you got him ready to rock and roll, and you got a veteran presence to come in and give you a shot. So I like the move. I love the fact that it doesn't cost you a lot. We've got cap space, so I'm not worried about the financial aspect of this. And I like the fact that it's just a simple swapping of some late round picks to get this thing done, to bring in a veteran that you know is going to be able to play at a high enough level to help you function as an offense. And it also takes the thought, even if that thought was a fleeting one by the organization, it takes the thought of potentially reaching or snatching an offensive guard in this draft at any point off the table completely, and that's the way I like it. That's the way, I like it. That's the way, I like it. No Elijah Vera Tucker in the first round. No, not today. And I love it. So tell me what you think about the deal. Erick Flowers, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to Washington. Another guard in the mix. I think Saahdiq Charles is heading back outside the left tackle where we drafted him to play. He's going to compete. He's got some competition out there. I don't know. I'm not saying, I'm just saying maybe they're not looking at tackle at all after this move. Who's to say? We will see. Either way, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me. Remember, I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold until we meet again. Hail to the beloved Washington football team. Get off the bench. Get in the game. We'll have a lot more content coming your way this week heading into the draft. Bart Scott. Can't wait. Like this video, subscribe to the Louie T Network if you haven't already done so, and turn on your notification bell so you don't miss a thing. With that said, I'm out of here. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Make sure you leave a comment down below about how you feel about this move and what do you think it means. And also leave a like. See you next time.
LouieTeeNetwork.